Honorable Minister, could you and your delegation introduce yourselves?
Good morning once again. My name is Honorable John Dumelo, MP for Ayawaso West Wogon, and the Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture.
My name is Doris Yanwana Vaye, the former Director of Procurement, Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
My name is Josephine Ivy Pegreen, Acting Director, PPMED.
My name is Paul Siame, the Chief Director, Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
My name is Emmanuel Edusei, Financial Controller, Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Okay. Later on this week, earlier on this week, we had asked that some other witnesses should come with you to answer some questions. Do we have them here?
Good morning, Chair. 2 days, when we appeared earlier on this week, you directed the clerk right to the two parties involved. One party is here, but unfortunately the other party is not here. And so that is the current status of the situation.
Which party is here and which party is not here?
The supplier is here, the agent is here, but the supplier is not here. I think we tried to reach him, and informally he's asked for some time, and so that is what we are telling you this morning. Thank you.
Okay, in that case, we will need both parties here. So if one party is here and the other one is not here, we will not be able to do justice to what is going on. So what we may do is to discharge you and then get the clerk to find a suitable time when both parties will be here for us to get to the bottom of the story.
Thank you so much.
Next week we'll be in Tamale. A week after that we'll be in Kufrodua. 2 weeks after that we'll be in Kumasi. And then after that we'll be in Kufrodua. So you can pick these 3 towns. Or if you want us to do the special one here in Accra too, we'll do that.
Mr. Chair, I think Tamale is better.
Tamale is better. Okay, the clerk will get in touch with you. All right, you are discharged. Now, may we call Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. The rep for Ministry of Finance, is he around? Okay, join them to take the oath. Then you can sit with us. Honorable Minister, could you and your delegation introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, my name is Kenneth Gilbert Eje, the Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Honorable Gisela Tete-Agutui, Deputy Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources, and MP for Awutu Senya West, the Central Region. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Irene Mesiba, Chief Director, Ministry of Works, Housing and Water Resources. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Reverend Stephen Yause, former Chief Director of the Ministry.
Good morning. My name is John Kisi, former Chief Executive, Ghana Hydrological Authority.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Philip Aki, Director in charge of Finance.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Ebenezer Maktete, the Director of Works of the Ministry.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. My name is Sylvester Dakum, the Acting CEO for Ghana Hydro Authority. Thank you.
Hello. Feko Isaac is my name. I'm Director in charge of External Resource Mobilization. I work with the Minister of Finance.
All right, thank you very much. Honorable Faustina Agrugu will start with your own fractions early. It's on page 149.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the audit report indicates that an amount of 56 million odd was reclassified from commitment payments to claims payables. Can you tell us whether an internal audit unit to receive all interim payments, classifications, and other financial entries before they were recorded?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I will respectfully ask Director Works to answer this question. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the 56 million that we are talking about here is a claim, not a commitment. And certificates were prepared and went through the processes of the ministry to finance for payment. So it's not a commitment as indicated in the report.
Okay, so was there a review of the IPCs? If there was, this would have been avoided. Was there?
Yes, there was a review, very rigorous review, of course. We go through the process by visiting the site, making sure that the certificate that is submitted to the ministry vetted and paid. So after vetting, goes through, how do you call it, PPBME for preparation of letters and certificates to the Minister of Finance. So it was done, yes.
And can the auditors tell us what, confirm what he's saying, please?
Honorable Chair, from the auditor's perspective, we're given a schedule, so we can confirm what he's saying, but we're given a schedule from MOF, which had captured it as commitment. However, after performance of the audit, we realized that it's actually a claim, so the reason it was reclassified. So it's just to help to aid proper reporting.
Thank you. So there is another audit here, a whopping amount of 197 million odd, which had already been paid to suppliers and contractors, was still reflected in the Ministry of Finance record. We know that payment advance comes from your ministry to Ministry of Finance, and yet this money still reflects in the Ministry of Finance. Can you tell us, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, with this question, I would plead with you to let Director of Finance answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. What I want to say is that this, in regard to this permit, these are payments that are made by Ministry of Finance using bonds, factory, and discount houses to actually make this payment without a recourse to the ministry. But when we actually interrogate the figures and later on talk to Ministry of Finance, I think we actually let the auditors understand that these payments were effected by Ministry of Finance without our recourse. And we agree that, yes, it's a payment that has been happened without our knowledge, and we acknowledge it. Thank you.
I want to ask, do you perform regular audits and reconciliation with Ministry of Finance? Otherwise, we could, avoid these discrepancies. Can you tell us whether you both do audits together?
Yes, Honorable Chair, we do. What happened is that the time frame between where this report was sent and the time we do the reconciliation is almost the same time. But going forward, we have actually put up a team that normally do a vigorous check, reconciliation, internal check to make sure that a double payment is avoided. Thank you.
But Minister of Finance, all throughout this week, many of the ministries, departments and agencies come to sit here to tell us that the ministry made a payment that they were not aware of. How does that happen?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So let me answer the generic one, and I'll come to this specific one. So somewhere in 2021, 2022, thereabout, some instruments were used to pay claims that we didn't have money for through the MDA at the Ministry of Finance. So these payments were actually requests that had come from the MDAs. So there's no payment that can be done in the ministry if a request has not come. That is not possible. I'm told that the arrangement was to avoid huge legal issues that we're having. So the bonds were issued for particular claims. Between yesterday when we had the letter and this morning, we've done a lot of work trying to find evidence of communication to the MDAs. Because even this morning, the officers responsible for the bond said that every bond that is issued is copied to the MDA. It is possible, it's not at the time of, but like when it's issued, the letter, if you watch the CCs, it's on it. So what Chief Director said is that I should gather as much evidence that I have. Unfortunately, I couldn't because we moved office and it's been, we've been trying our best, but we will get every evidence that we have and then submit to the committee. So there are indeed the letters that send the bonds are copied to the MDs. So that one I can say. For this particular one, I don't know whether it occurred in that regime because 2024, when I became Director of Budget, I'm no more Director of Budget, nothing like that has been done. So I hope they are also referring into that period that the bonds, it was for a particular time to correct a particular situation. After that, we've not done that yet.
Yeah, because this is a report that to the end of December 31st, 2024. And these things, I mean, we heard that from almost every ministry. Finance paid and we didn't know about it. Now, what has changed now?
Thank you, Chair. So even before I come to what has changed, Chief Director was worried about MDAs saying that they have no idea about payments from road fund, stuff like that. So apart from the bonds issue, every payment that can be done on the GIFMIS, the Ministry of Finance can never do any payment without certain rules played by the ministries. I will explain. So when you put in a claim to the Ministry of Finance, let's say we do our processes and issue a warrant. After the warrant, the ministry has to do something they call purchase orders. it is the ministry, and then book documents to it. Then they go through the procurement process, them, not Ministry of Finance. And then maybe they do the work, the contractor does the work, and then they raise invoices. In the invoice, they are supposed to attach IPC, checklists, a whole lot of things that we scrutinize. Then they send it to us. At that time, I was director of budget, so it comes to my screen. We scrutinize and make sure that the rules of government, i.e. VAT and all other issues, are covered. Before I approve it, I used to approve it to the controller and then to the MDA. The MDA again has to do some work with the controller after these documents have gone. Now, Mr. Chair, finally, the payments that are done by every MDA is done by the Treasury of the MDA. Ministry of Finance has no avenue to be paying contractors directly. No. Every MDA who has come to say that it is the Treasury who finally moved the money to the contractor. I just thought I should make these facts clear. I mean, because these are system issues and it can easily be verified. Thank you, Chair.
I'm so glad today Ministry of Finance is here, and that is why we asked that your rep should come. I have said this consistently, that the MDAs are always in copy with the letters that are the release letters instructing controller to do anything. Because in the first place, they bring in the request. So I'm glad today it's out here for us to, all listen, know, and we've been taking through it. It is the MDA's duty to check their numbers. And then if clearly, from all the reports that we've had, there's no maintenance or aging analysis of arrears, that if we had that, all these things with the blame of Ministry of Finance doing this, Ministry of Finance doing that, wouldn't even occur. It is because consistently every MDA has been cited for not having aging analysis of its debts, liabilities, claims, and those things. So today, I hope that at the end of this special audit sitting, this issue of Ministry of Finance did it on our blind side, this issue of Ministry of Finance did it and we did not know, will become a thing of the past. These are some of the reasons why we are sitting. And I hope that moving forward, no MDA will come and sit and tell us that Ministry of Finance did it on our behalf, on our blind side, because clearly the former director of budget is here and he was in the loop concerning every payment that happened, let me say in 2024, and he's spoken, and that is the process. Thank you very much, Ranking.
The other gentleman from the one who said the ministry finance paid without you guys knowing. So what do you say?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. What I said was that those payment in question were made with the bonds and the factoring methods. And payment through the bonds, there's no way we at the ministry will know. Because when funds are released through controller to the ministry, yes, our treasury will pay. But when bonds are used to pay, there's no way we know unless you give us an advice. And in that case, we didn't receive advice. That's why I'm saying that they pay without our knowledge. But we have duly recognized the fact that, yes, now we have seen that they have paid. So we acknowledge this. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair, to the gentleman, I would like to find out from you. So, Minister of Finance, does it mean when they are using bond to pay, the Treasury is not aware?
Thank you, Chair. So like I said, that one was for a brief period. Now, every bond that was issued, yesterday after we got the letter, we did quite some work, has a letter communicating the bond, and they are in copy. So this morning, I asked the officer whether he has found some samples, because Chief says I should come with evidences. So we'll gather those ones, the ones that we'll get, and then come and show the committee that, because a bond is not, it's a document, like, and for the public service, anything you write it like that, you copy the relevant people. So I've just asked the head, and he said they have it. We said they should bring it so that we show to Chairman. Thank you.
So that means all the MDAs who are here previously saying that Minister of Finance made the payment, they are not aware, and they are under oath. They are under oath with this committee, so they are not being truthful to this committee, based on the revelation coming from Minister of Finance.
Follow up. Okay, and then she will finish it up.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Just a follow-up to get further education and clarity on the positions taken by the former Director of Budget, and also the further explanation by Madam Chair, and then the witness. So you are saying that in the specific case, these monies were paid through what you describe as bonds, and therefore it didn't follow the normal procedure that has been explained by former Director of Budget and the former Deputy Minister. Well, Madam Chair, is that the case? That in this case of special bond payment, you can say safely that Ministry of Finance paid without the MDA's knowledge. Is that the case?
Thank you, Chair. So like I explained, okay. Yeah. So like I explained, if it's before the decisions were taken, and those decisions are taken by management, because the appropriation makes room for financing, which is captured in the budget and approved. So the Minister of Finance has an upper limit that he can go. He cannot go beyond what Parliament has approved. That is one side. So the letter which they've sent me a copy, I'll get it printed and I'll tender it in, showing that Ministry of Roads and Highways were copied in the bond issuance. So when the requests come, and then it will come to me, I'll take it to my shadow officer, they'll build a case stating how many payments have been done, if it's a contract, like information, normal information on a file. When the file goes up, and at that time, I guess we have indicated in our memo that there's no regular financing for it. It's up to the minister to use his discretion without, with the Treasury, debt people, and people who do financing, which is not my area. Mine is GOG. So any money that I think GOG cannot contain, we will normally build files and it will go up. And then at the higher level, they will decide that these ones have no money. So we'll use such financing to do, especially when there are critical issues like judgment debts hanging on our necks. And I'm saying that the copy they've sent me now means that when the bonds are finally issued, so it's not a budget division that issues the bond, but when they are finally issued, they are copied. So, so that is for the bonds and what the honorable member is asking.
So it means that, Director of Budget, please let me just get this. So it means that in this specific case, the MDA Treasury did not effect that payment. Is that correct?
Yes, directly they cannot effect payment because a bond is not like they are coming to pay. No,
and
like,
that means
it's a commitment.
And that means that the payment occurred without their knowledge. Is that correct?
Not the ministries, not the ministries' knowledge, but not the Treasury. Yeah. So if it's the ministry, that's why I said I have copies to tender in. I have copies to tender in. But as to whether it's the Treasury man's, it got to its information, I cannot say.
Madam Honorable Ellen, just continue.
Honorable Chair, I think that's it. Dr. Jesau has answered, answered my questions on my behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, just from the Minister of Finance, I would like the copy to the ministry. Who exactly? Which department did the copy goes to?
So this particular one that I have, so they've sent me 3. I'll print it and tender in. It's copied to. So it was signed by Dr. John Amponte Akuma. It was copied to the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Minister of MRH, Ministry of Roads and Highways. It was copied to Honorable Minister of State, Deputy Minister of Finance, Chief Director, Coordinating Director, TDMD, and then I can't see these ones, Bank of Ghana. People who matter, all those people are copied. But MRH is the second one on there.
Can you read the letter for us?
Okay, so for the bond issues, it goes like this. Kindly note and deposit a total amount of 112,005, the amount in question, into GCB's CSD account in favor of Constructora Cures Galvo. It's a company's name. For the settlement of outstanding interim payment certificates. Now, before this paragraph, they've showed there's a table writing security, 10 years, ISIN, GGOG.
Okay, sir. I think it's self-explanatory. Honorable OPK.
All right. So I'm sure that, Minister of Finance, I'm sure you have followed our sittings from Monday and all the agencies that have appeared before the committee. And I mean, you would also appreciate from your end agencies who have come and said these stories. Maybe you should have been here earlier, but we would want from you all the agencies and the issues that are raised in this audit report, those who appeared before this committee and made claims that they were not in the known, kindly put them together and let this committee, if we have to invite them again, we will do that. But because that impression was created. But my question to you is that in copying them, I mean, at what point do you do that? Is it immediate when the bond is issued, when the payments are made? At what point?
So this one, this letter is given Bank of Ghana. Let me be sure. So it's to the Governor Bank of Ghana. So it's giving instructions to the Bank of Ghana to do what Minister has written, which I've read out. It's just at that time that they are copied.
Okay, I think we get it. Nase, you go to page 150.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Honorable Minister, the next infraction is on page 150. I would like to find out the motive behind the reasons why we are having negative outstanding commitments before I ask my substantive question.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I know it was due to some variations and additional works to the scope of work, but respectfully, I would like the head of Hydro to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yes, as the Minister rightly said, the negative commitments result from the revision of the works that were initially planned. And so normally, once the works have been revised and the revision lies within a certain percentage, I understand the law is that it's 15%. And so these commitments, negative arrears arise from that revision as a result of the additional works that are normally added to the original works because of requests perhaps from the communities that are within the project areas. Thank you.
Director of Finance. Director of Hydro. Can you please educate us what negative commitments are, negative outstanding commitments? Whether it's an error, overpayment, I want to understand.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. So my understanding is that originally contracts are valued at certain values. So once in the course of the execution of the work, due to conditions, the works are varied. And so once the works are varied, the initial amount that is allocated is exceeded. And that becomes additional commitment to government that has to be settled. So in that case, it becomes a negative because it's a debt that is a commitment that government has to finance because of the additional work that, yes. I understand this term is also a term that is applied by the auditors, the negative commitment. So maybe they can also give us a better explanation. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to do a follow-up on that. Director, you are talking about revision of original contracts, and that would bring about an increase in government's liabilities. What process do you go through? Because once you do a revision, there must therefore be an addendum to the original contract, increasing that value and legitimizing that. But in this case, that is not what it says. It says you've paid more than you ought to have paid. So once you do a revision, that addendum will come as part of the original contract, legitimizing that. And once you pay, that does not become a negative payment in terms of an overpayment. So what process do you go through, and what approval processes do you get such that you can revise a contract so that government liability therefore goes up?
Honorable Chair, I will help out here, former CEO for Hydro. So there's a typical case here on this, on the auditor's report, which is Commander, for example. So there were requests from the community for additional facilities. Basically, we decided that it wasn't enough to just go into the community, protect the coastline and live. So we would do, we incorporate other measures, of course, from their request, and also looking at boosting the local economy. So certain facilities were incorporated, such as fish market and cold store, car park. A bridge was also built to connect to communities. So all of these were additional works. Now, from the Hydro point of view, once we identify these needs in the community, we write to the ministry that these are the needs from the community. This is what it will cost. And then we seek approval from the ministry. Now, once we seek that, we get that approval, we update the contract accordingly. So that is the processes that we go through.
But once you've had that approval, that becomes part of the original contract, increasing it by that value, right?
That's correct, Honorable Chair.
Good. So therefore, your liability now hits with the new revised number, right?
That's correct.
So once you pay that, there ought not to be overpayment in the view of the auditors.
You are correct, Honorable Chair. I cannot understand why auditors will suggest that it's a negative commitment, because it was an approved figure for as additional works, and there were specifics as to what those additional works were going to be done. And these additional works have actually been done and on the ground as well. So I would imagine that sometimes auditors may also want to actually attend the site and see if what was said to be done by these contracts were actually done. I think that could be an added layer of validation for the auditors. Thank you.
Auditors, can you please educate us on this one, and whether addendum to the contract was also presented? Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll try and explain the thing first, then I'll speak to the addendum afterwards. So, per the schedules we're given to commence the job, is actually classified either into BTA, commitments, or claims. Now, we're meant to validate outstanding liabilities. When you have commitment which is already in the negatives, that means it's actually not a liability. So for that purpose, we highlighted. Now, regarding the MDA having to provide us addendum, I don't think any addendum was provided to the team. So I think we can leave it such that we left it as saying to just highlight it that we have seen this schedule. We cannot validate it, so it has to be investigated further.
Former Director, do you have copies of the approvals? Because these are huge numbers we're talking about, over 19 million here, 74 million, in total of about 94 million in terms of these variations that overpayment may have happened. Do you have approvals by the Ministry of Finance or even the ministry, mother ministry, granting you that so that these excesses or these additional works could have been done?
So, Honorable Chair, in my response, I cited a specific example of Commander. That's one I have a lot of knowledge of, which one I presided over. I believe there are documentation for the others as well, but I can speak specifically to Commander. All the documentation are in the project files.
You have all those documentations?
That's correct.
And to your best of knowledge, the auditors said they do not cite those documentations. That is why they've made these recommendations as these amount being overpayment for contracts. Do you have copies of them? Can you provide copies of these approvals that varied the original contracts?
Honorable Chair, they can be provided. And once again, I'm specifically talking to Commander.
Yeah, I'm talking about Commander.
Yes, they are all there. They are all there in the project files, Honorable Chair. They can be made available to you. In fact, I advised one of the current staff to bring all the files around. I don't know if that was done, but if it was, then right after this, or even as we speak, if the files were brought here, they can be tabled right now. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
So, Director of Hydro, former Director of Hydro.
Yes, Honorable Chair, thank you very much. Just to add to my colleagues, so the approvals, as he said, for the Commander is available. The Anumabo also, for the additional works, is also available. That's from the PPA. And that of Axim as well. Thank you.
Please, available where?
The Commander he spoke about, as we sit here, is here. Is the approval.
Okay. Tender that one in. What about the new Takoradi Emergency Coastal Protection Project? That one is scary because it's over 74 million Ghana cedis.
Honorable Chair, actually the new Takoradi project was executed, long time ago, and there wasn't any outstanding payment that, so we are even surprised that that issue came up. But maybe Chief Director, former Chief Director, maybe will have to add more.
Hello. These are not outstanding payments. Let's put that in context. These are not outstanding payment. In the view of the auditors, these are overpayments. It is not that the project has not been done or not. These are overpayment. And the former Hydro Director gave an instance where this may happen, that there were variations. And these variations ought to go through a process of approval. And these become addendum to the original contract. And you told us that all of these are there, but in the instant here you have the Commander. And he asked a specific question, what about the new Takoradi? So did that one also have an approval? And are those documentations that can be provided?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, please, I would like the Chief Director to explain further.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So on the negative commitment, like the auditors mentioned, the initial schedule that went to Ministry of Finance didn't have the revised contract. But later on, Ghana Audit Service wrote to us that we should send an updated template. And that updated template covered the revised contract. I think we've tendered in our communication, the first template that we sent and also the subsequent one. But the auditors said they are using the initial schedule, so they cannot look at that schedule. So that is how come they didn't look at, they termed it negative commitment. So we have it here. I can still share. And on the new Takrady, which has 74 million, we looked at the auditor's schedule. That was also paid with a bond. It was also paid with a bond, and it forms part of the 269. So there was no overpayment on that schedule, but we have it 74.8 million. So that needs to be clarified by the auditors, because if you look at the template, there was nothing there, and we realized that that amount was paid with a bond, and we didn't know about it, but it was part of the 269.2 million.
Madam, whether you paid with cash at Treasury or you paid with bond by the Ministry of Finance, both amounts must sum up to the original contract amount. But once you say whether it was paid with bond and you are not aware, you are trying to imply that you also paid with cash, and that has increased the value.
There was no payment.
There was no payment.
There was no payment.
So
it was a mistake on the part of the auditors. There was no payment.
Auditors, did you subsequently see the approvals to correct these negative claims?
Honorable Chair, is your question in reference to whether we were given the addendum? Is that the question? So that, I think rightly the team had said we were not given those addendums. I think we can agree on that we were not handed those agreements.
Please. What about the revised the addendum?
So I want to believe they're talking about speaking about the revised schedule. So,
revised schedule.
Okay, so the process is that we are working with an initial schedule which was granted to us, and then the MDA can provide its schedule, because the understanding of this exercise is that the initial schedule which was initial data used to compile the schedule which was granted to us was from the MDAs. So as part of our exercise, we are supposed to now go back to the MDAs and then verify the two. Now, should we get to the particular MDA and they say, well, I want to change the original schedule we have, we are unable to do that.
All right. That's understandable. So, Honorable Nancy, are you done with your questions? Okay. Let me move on to Honorable Dr. Jesau, page 151.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chair, Minister, may I refer you to page 151 of the report? The issue has to do with ascertaining legitimacy and accuracy of the claim. Now, there was this affordable housing project, and the understanding was that this required citizens' participation. The records show that 159 individuals were registered, and they made some deposits, they made some payments. However, when the auditors came, they only got contact numbers for just 20. And out of the 20, they were only able to contact 16 of them. In other words, 16 were the only ones traceable. Is this the case? That you had citizens' participation, and yet you didn't provide contact numbers for the 159 citizens that were supposed to participate in this project in the first place?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like former Chief Director to answer this question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Indeed, respectfully, from 2006 to 2013, citizens made payments in respect of affordable housing that the ministry started, located at Boteman, Pong, Tamalewa, Kofodia, and others. Some deposits were paid, but we cannot say that those days IT compliant and others were not as high as today. So we only requested for postal addresses. A time came for this list to be validated. But what we have, as Raleigh said, we had the addresses. So the ministry made effort to publish those names in the dailies, and we have evidence to show that. And we were to even visit some radio stations and make an announcement. But, Honorable Chair, we know that some of them has passed on. Some of those who made the deposits, I know of a former ACOP, I don't want to mention names here, but who had about 6 of those lots, but he is passed on. We made initial contact with the family, but they refused to come forward. So that's giving us a challenge. We don't have their emails, we don't have their WhatsApp numbers and others. So we have decided to, resend personal letters to the boxes that they provided and see if we can get a response from them. Thank you very much.
So, Chief Director, former Chief Director, from 2006 to 2013, 2006, we had come of age in mobile telephony, actually. I personally, let me not go there. But we are talking about an amount of 1 million Ghana cedis. These are supposed, you are asking that they be refunded. Now, this claim of getting them refunded, how did you want to be able to pay them back once you couldn't trace them? So is the claim legitimate at all?
Which is legitimate. And we had an arrangement with Senate. Senate completed the Boteman, the housing project, and that was a Koremampo. So those who were able to pay up the difference and then were given the opportunity. But of course, it was revised to the present day value, the money that they paid, and then you pay the gap, and then you are given the property. However, some of them are unable to pay the difference. So they asked for refund. The list was more than this, but those who were able to pay up were deleted from the list. So those who are not able to pay, they are asking for the refund. Some of them have come for, in fact, others took us to court and judgment that were given, and the Ministry of Finance paid in respect of that. So we still have to make effort to trace those who have still not come forward and then make sure that they are paid. Thank you very much.
Did you do anything further in tracing apart from writing letters to them? Once you had physical addresses, did you contract a team, for example, to go and physically locate them, for example? Did you make any extra efforts?
Honorable Chair, we made effort to contact some of them through telephones and others, but those that we know personally, we contacted them. As I said, a former ACOP, who I knew, I contacted the family.
So, Chief Director, the time is a premium. So these cannot be validated. So the auditors are right. The ministry shouldn't pay. Would that be something you subscribe to?
No, the fact is, as and when they come forward, we are obliged to pay.
But as of 31st December, and per this report, they cannot validate this. So,
for now, yes. But as I'm saying, as and when they come, in fact, for my information, some people have been started coming after this report.
Okay, Minister, the clearly, you see the gloomy picture painted about record keeping and transition to keep your ministry up to date. Are there any steps being taken to ensure that you can reconcile the records at least until a time that they are actually sent to archives and so on, so that you can have continuity of data and the integrity of data? What are you doing about it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, currently structures are being put in place to ensure that all these occurrences doesn't happen again.
Okay, the next infraction is on page 152, and Alhaji Bawa would handle that one.
Thank you, Chair. And the third page relates to due dates and stock arrears payables. And the key issue there is that there's no evidence of maintenance of aging analysis of arrears and commitments. So, Minister and your team, what steps are you taking to ensure that at least you have a maintenance of an aging analysis of your arrears and commitments?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, respectfully, I would like Director of Finance to attend to this.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Regarding aging analysis, the GiveMe's platform is supposed to perform such function creditably. But as you are aware, the platform have not been updated to cater for that particular function. So, but we as a ministry have actually used the spreadsheet and then Excel to do some sort of aging analysis, which we are currently using. Thank you.
I think the given platform itself needs to be configured so that at least it can perform such a function. But if you look at the reports, as a result of that, all these payables that are there, will you suggest that it should be paid because the analysis was not there for the auditors to be able to establish the due dates?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Even if you recommend that it should be paid, we have not in that position to pay because funds have to come from Ministry of Finance to controller for us to pay. But what I can say is that all those payments relate to 2024. Thank you.
Minister, there was a recommendation that you should maintain an aging analysis of the of arrears and commitments, and then it should be mandatory as part of your component of your financial reports. So, can you assure this committee that this anomaly will not occur again?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair can assure the committee that this anomaly will not happen again because structures have been put in place to ensure that it doesn't occur. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that will be all for me.
Thank you very much. The next infraction is on page 153, and we'll have Honorable Duke Kwame Amwakwata Oforiata. Should I add Akufo-Addo to it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this is a case where additional works on the Axim and Anamabo coastal protection projects, which is part of the West Africa Coastal Area Program. The auditors noted that inadequate contract management and non-compliance with financial approval processes for contract modifications. The auditors noted two things. The original contract sum was in Ghana cedis, but additional costs were denominated in USD. They also noted that the additional work's value exceeded the original contract sum. Next infraction was, we further noted that additional works were approved by the PPA and the relevant ministry, department, and agency, but failed to obtain final approval from the Ministry of Finance. So my question to the Minister, what was the nature of the agency requiring a scope script on the projects for which MDA and PPA approvals were obtained?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, respectfully, I would like a former MD of Hydro and a former Chief Director to answer this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, you would realize that in a number of cases, with coastal protection works, you have phase 1, phase 2, and sometimes even phase 3. The hard engineering methods that we use, when you are solving a problem at one end, you are worsening it at another. In fact, that is something that as a country we need to take a detailed look at. Before I left office, we were in discussion with the Dutch government in trying what we call nature-based solutions. So once you were doing Axim, once you were doing Anomabo, and even currently Bekusu we are at phase 2. Phase 1 was done a while back. The current location of that project became so bad that government had to rush in and survey the situation. So it became necessary after implementing Anomabo. There were several agitations from the community, from chiefs, several letters written to presidency, and physically when you go there, you could see people's homes were being lost, land was being lost to the sea, the community. You will find their canoes at the coastline. The next morning, canoe is right in the sea, or canoe is completely broken up. So it was having such a devastating effect on the community, and that was the reason why we recommended that we address the challenge at Eja, which is Eja number 1, number 2, next to Anomabo, and then also the one at Axim. So, Honorable Chair, this is a situation along our coastline. Thank you. And I think there was also an issue about the fact that the additional works were actually more costly than the original works. Honorable Chair, we are talking about 2 different time frames and 2 different time references. The original works, one was 2018, one was 2019. If we look at the dollar value of the original works, you will realize that they are far more than the dollar value of the additional works. Currently, we are having a lot of challenges with the ongoing projects because contracts were in cities and all of that. Most of these have lost their value, and there's no motivation for our contractors even to carry on doing the work. No one wants to work and lose money. So that is the background to some of these issues. Thank you.
You see, I can relate to that. You did Commander, Sea Defense. You did Commander, and you jumped to Elmina. And now, if you look at, I'm paying in my constituency, and then I'm paying all the way down. The place is, it's a mess now. We are losing buildings out there. But just because you did Commander, you see, you should have done all those places. But we know why it happened, but I won't say it on air.
The auditors, I want to know if you peruse the contract document, the terms, and the prohibitions, because you are questioning the pricing in dollars for this specialized service.
Well, Honorable Chair, yes, we peruse those documents. And then respectfully, I can say so everything was okay at the time. Like you rightly said, it was different periods. The subsequent, when translated into CD, appears higher than the initial one. But subsequent to the issuance of this report, the team held discussions with the MDA and realized that the original amounts for both were in USD. So that would be a point of correction.
Question for the Minister. Minister, what is the status of the rollout and compliance on the Gov't, the electronic platform which seeks to digitalize and link approval tiers to ownership requirements at the Ministry?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think currently we are doing all our procurement process through the Gov't, the platform that has been designated for our procurement process. So no procurements take place without passing through the Gov't. Thank you.
Thank you.